everybody, and welcome back to Daft on Draft. And today we are going to Daft or Draft 3 topics to hit on college football, the NFL draft. 2 of them will be NFL draft related, and the third one will be college football related. We are NFL draft focused here. That is our main goal, but it is the college football season. And this is the first time I have really gotten to sit down and enjoy a college football season. It has been covering the NFL for the past 3 years. I have not been able to watch college football. Saturdays were my day off. I was not spending it watching more football. So I am thoroughly enjoying all of the college football I get to watch. And because I get to watch it, I'm going to talk about it. And so me and the fake Cory Kinnan are going to discuss a very hot button topic for college football. That will be our last Daft or Draft. But Cory, how are you doing today?
Yeah, man, it's good to be back in the seat. We're really cranking out. We've got the schedule on lock now. This is our second week on the 4 episode a week schedule, and I think we're kind of killing it. So really getting the ball rolling here, and I'm really excited to get, the Daft on Draft podcast has always been like a thing that's kind of started and then it's kind of fluttered and started and fluttered, but I'm really excited that it's here and it's kind of consistent. And so some life things happen where I had to drop off for a while, like my wife getting pregnant and having our second child and things like that stuff happens. So, but I'm happy that I'm settled, and I'm kind of like, I feel like there's no major life change coming up, and I can like dig into a content schedule. That's true.
Said that.
That's true.
Have said that.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, let's get to it. I brought us in, so do you want to pop off with the first question?
Yeah. So again, as a reminder, if you didn't listen to the Daft or Draft episode last week, basically we're going to pose 3 questions. It's essentially true or false, right? So it's Daft or Draft. So based on what we say, are we going to buy that? Are we going to buy that take, that hot take? Yes. We're gonna pound our fist on the table. We're gonna turn that draft
This is
card
our time to do a little first take, like morning show type, just fun. This is it. It's a little bit of a hot take, but we're going for it type of deal, which as objective NFL draft analysts, we don't get to do this fun stuff very often.
Right. So yes, we're going to draft that idea, or no, that's daft. Again, the definition of daft, that's silly. It's not to be taken seriously. So that's kind of how we're going to roll out. So the first Daft on Draft is we entered this season with the offensive tackles pretty much lining up consensus-wise. Not everybody had this, but the 2 LSU tackles, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, and then the Texas offensive tackle, Kelvin Banks. Since the season has started, Texas's right tackle, Cameron Williams, is in his first season as the full-time starter. He's a true junior, and he has he's got some great tools. Like he's legit 6'5", and he's listed at 335, and they might be being generous to him at listing him at 335.
Generous or the other way around.
He's right. He's bigger than 335. He's bigger, but he moves very well for that size. And so I've watched these 3 games, and I think this guy's got some tools. Again, there's some raw aspects of his game. But the premise of this first Daft or Draft is, since the start of the college football season, who has the better set of draft eligible tackles? Is it still LSU, or with the addition of Cam Williams at Texas, is it now Texas?
This is a tough one for me, because you got to look at who they've played against too. And so for me, when I look at this, you see Texas. Texas played Colorado State, they've played Michigan, and they've played UTSA. On the other hand, you've had LSU play USC, Nicholls, and South Carolina. And South Carolina, I don't know if you guys know this, they have a defensive front. They got a defensive line. From inside to outside, they have a freshman, redshirt, but still a freshman, a phenom, who gave Emory Jones and Will Campbell fits in that football game. So when you look at it, I do believe that the Texas duo has played better so far, but they are also playing an SEC schedule. And so when you look at that, they are going to play better pass rushes than they have seen so far. They're going to get Georgia. They're going to get Arkansas, Texas A&M. They're going to get some of these better pass rushers in this class. And we're going to get to the pass rushers in this class too. But I do believe from what we've seen so far, I'm going to draft this. And I'm going to draft this based off of, I do believe in the limitations for Will Campbell overall as a tackle at the NFL level. And Emory Jones on the other side has been a little rougher, specifically in that first game. And I don't think that the run blocking on that right side has been particularly good. When you look at the other side with Texas, one thing you are getting from both of those dudes is really good run blocking. I think one thing that Kelvin Banks does really well, and obviously he's a powerful player, but I do think he's playing with a little bit more control in the run game so far this year. And he has been outstanding in pass pro so far. What makes this difficult, and we talked about this in our offensive tackle episode, is that the Texas offense makes it very easy on the entire offensive line, on the quarterback, on the wide receivers, because there are quick answers almost consistently. There's a lot of play action. There's a lot of misdirection that slows down rushers. But when they get into those one-on-one situations, when Quinn Ewers does have to drop back, I've really liked what I've seen from Cameron Williams. Reminds me of a more athletic version of what we saw from J.C. Latham, who Latham 300 and however
60
big
I think is
60 pounds. And I don't think that Williams is that big, but you were looking at a 360 pounder in Latham who was a better pass protector than he was a run blocker. And you would never think that from a 360 pound human being, but that's what he was. Technically, he was a very good pass protector, but there are limitations when you are 360 pounds and you're not the most fluid or explosive athlete in the world. Cameron Williams still a little bit rough around the edges, a little bit of a waist bender at times, especially in the run game, but he has the fluidity and flexibility at 340 pounds that you really look for in an offensive tackle. So there is a lot to like there. Like I said, going to draft this one right now, but once we get into SEC play, that could change.
Yeah, I think I'm going to draft it too. Similar to, and it has just as much to do with Cam Williams as it does the LSU guys. I came into the season knowing who Will Campbell is. And Will Campbell's been Will Campbell, and that's who Will Campbell's going to be. Like, Will Campbell's not going to take a leap. Will Campbell doesn't have the physical tools to take another leap. What you see is what you get with Will Campbell. And that's a pretty darn good football player, a player who's going to go in the first round unless he just completely bottoms out. But what we loved about Emory Jones were those raw physical tools, the core strength, the foot speed, the length, the things that Will Campbell doesn't have. But I think what I see with Emory Jones, and I say this as somebody who came in with Emory Jones as the top-rated offensive tackle coming into the draft, and probably still do, because I'm not going to change my pre-draft notions based off of 3 weeks of play, right? Again, and it's been, not like you said, non-conference. Texas and Alabama, or Texas and Michigan played each other, but like they haven't hit SEC play yet. So Jones still has time to get a lot better, but like some of the things that I saw that were like with Jones over the summer was like his feet are not all that crisp. His sets, while he gets out explosively, are kind of clunky. His feet aren't, his base isn't always even. I don't think he always sits his weight evenly, like over his hips. And some of those things are still the same. So while I wanted Jones to take that leap, it hasn't happened yet. Not to say, well, he's a true junior, right? Like it is his third year as a starter. He started, him and Campbell both as true freshmen. So that leap that I expected hasn't happened yet. Meanwhile, Banks, who I came in lower on, like I gave him a third round grade and people gave him top 10 grades. I thought the foot speed was slow, and I still don't necessarily love his lower half tools, but what I have seen is he is leveraging way better this year than he did over the summer. His grip strength and where he's placing his hands specifically to be able to activate his core when he's anchoring is significantly better this year.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up the strike accuracy, because I feel like he's gotten a lot more consistent with that so far.
Yes. And so while I still question his lower half tools, and again, he's not going to be asked to vertical set, and he's not going to be asked to set 45 very often in that Texas offense, what I thought he lacked over the summer, I've seen improvements on. And so that's enough for me to say, man, already I might give to Texas. And then you throw in Cam Williams, who I think I'm not ready to hard launch this hot take, but I'm going to soft launch it. I think there's some people who might have Cam Williams OT1 by the end of the season, like based off of his size, his length, and then how you see him move, the speed of his feet and his set. Again, I think he has some balance issues similar to JC Latham that Latham had last year as well. He does get out over his waist a little bit. But again, this is his first season as a full-time starter. Yes, he's the same age as the other three tackles we're talking about, but Christian Jones came back for a 6th year at Texas and put this guy on the bench again. So the development isn't the same. It's not as linear as Banks or Jones or Campbell, where I do think he's just going to keep getting better. Yeah, it could come out the other way where like he plays some stiffer competition and they whoop him. Like that could happen too, sure. But like his physical tools are the best in the class. It's not a very good offensive tackle class, as we've said in like previous podcasts. It's not a very deep, but like his physical tools are the best in this class. And so I think I'm going to draft that the Texas offensive tackles are better draft prospects right now than the LSU ones. Where entering the season, LSU guys were up top.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with anything except for maybe the physical tools part, just because Emory Jones has that insane core strength and flexibility. And I think that can be super important with an offensive tackle. But I do think, even if he's not quite as clean, there will be situations in the NFL level where a guy like Cameron Williams will be lauded more than any of these guys because of what he is as a player and as an athlete at right tackle. So
yeah,
I don't mind that soft launch whatsoever. I don't think that's daft. I wouldn't draft it yet.
I'm right there too.
I don't think it's completely daft.
Also, some of the things that scare me still about Williams, or what have caused me to, I think I hit on this in our offensive tackle podcast, are some of the things that have caused me to miss an offensive tackle in the past. And balance issues is number one.
Yeah.
Like number one. Like I loved Evan Neal coming out of Alabama a couple years ago because he was a legit 6'7" and 360 pounds, and he moved so well and he was so strong and his punch was phenomenal, but he had horrible balance issues. And I overlooked that and said, he's going to outgrow this at the NFL level. He's going to get NFL coaching. And guess what? He hasn't grown out of those balance issues. It's way too early to call it on Neal. It's way too early to call it on Latham, but Latham still has balance issues with the Titans right now. Like that's still a huge issue with Latham. So like all three of those guys kind of fit the same mold. They're freak athletes for their size. They move really well for their size, but they have balance issues. So like, that's what I'm going to be watching on Williams moving forward. But based on my previous record of missing on offensive tackles with balance issues, I might be a little more cautious this time around.
Yeah. The second Daft draft on the board here is that there will be 3 or fewer edge rushers taken in the first round of the 2025 NFL draft. Cory, Daft or draft it?
3 or fewer. I think I'm going to draft it, man. I think I'm going to draft it. Again, if you look at this edge class, we came into the season really hyping up this edge class. Like James Pierce, a freak. And again, James Pierce hasn't played very many snaps because look at Tennessee's schedule and they're beating Kent State 50-0 at halftime and he's not playing. Like they played a bunch of non-conference. I mean, the most snaps he's played in a game this year is 29. So like he's not playing a lot of snaps, so he doesn't have the production, and that could come in SEC play, and it better come in SEC play.
I thought you were about to disrespect NC State, who I still think is a good football team, but
yeah, they're kind of dragged down to their quarterback who has a pop gun arm. But
and they got absolutely throttled by that Tennessee offense too.
Yeah, they did. Nick Scorton. A lot of people had an edge one coming out of the summer. I know the NFL Stock Exchange guys had him as their edge one coming out of the summer, and I still think he's a really good football player. He looks heavier. He looks heavier at Texas A&M this year. Like I don't know if they made him put on some weight, but he looks heavier, and I don't think it's productive for him thus far. And his production, he had 1 sack against Notre Dame, but that's it so far. Again, we're in week 3, so like that's the whole point of this episode, right? Like let's have some hot takes. Let's let it fly.
Yeah, let's throw some stuff out there. Yeah.
Abdul Carter, his first season as a full-time edge, 0 sacks. Landon Jackson, 0 sacks. The Ohio State guys are productive, but they played 2 MAC teams and they're playing Marshall this week. Princely Uman transferring to Ole Miss, nothing. Like, so the production, and this is where you kind of want to see them dominate. It's non-conference. Like, And so I guess that goes to safe the Ohio State guys, but I also am just like a little bit lower on those Ohio State guys. Like I think Jack Sawyer is extremely linear. Like I think he's stiff as a board. So he's only going to win with the power profile. He has no bend. And then JT Tuimoloau is kind of the exact opposite, where like I think he's a very well-rounded player, but I question his athletic traits. I don't think he's extremely explosive. I just think he's a really well-rounded player and refined with his hands. And that'll win you reps at the NFL level. But like to me, that's not a first-round prospect.
Do you think he's refined as a pass rusher?
I like his hands. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't think he has elite physical gifts to like you draft this guy first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To where those first three guys, even Abdul Carter with the lack of production, James Pierce, it's going to happen. And Nick Scorton, we'll see kind of what happens at this play weight. But I think those three guys are going to go first round. But I wouldn't bet on anybody outside of Pierce, Scorton, or Carter going first round. And Carter's going to test out the freaking gym. Like he's gonna blow the roof off of Lucas Oil in February.
Yeah,
so like, yeah. So I think those three, yes. So I'm drafting that. Nobody else outside of those three.
Okay. That's pretty hot because the NFL lives off of pass rushers.
Oh, Michael Williams. I forgot about Michael Williams, I guess.
Yeah,
forgot about Michael Williams.
Has he been? I haven't seen him flashing as much on that defense either, though.
So he hasn't played since the first week. He played against Clemson and he had 2 total pressures,
right.
1 quarterback hit, and he hasn't played since then. So I mean, again, he's going to have an SEC schedule, so we'll see. I would assume he's going to be healthy enough to play against Bama. We'll see how it goes once he gets in the SEC schedule. But like, again, Williams is one of those guys who's also built in a lab, like 6'5", 265, long as could be.
He's got like 36-inch arms.
Yeah,
though, so
yeah. So like the NFL is going to love him. And he's going to test well. So, man, now I forgot about. I'm gonna adapt it because I think. Yeah, I'm going to adapt it because Abdul Carter, there's no way the NFL is going to turn him away if he's going to do what he's going to do in Indy. And then the only thing can be Scorton at like he's sitting at 280 right now. So like this is kind of the George Karlaftis thing, right? Like he came into the season as a top 10 prospect in the 2022 class. Yep. People loved how refined he was with his hands. Like he had a forklift move that couldn't be stopped. And then he tested well. He tested explosive. But then the production fell off his draft eligible year, and he still did go first round though, but he fell to the back end of the first round. And so like, I think we could see maybe a similar trajectory for Scorton, but I still think with Williams, because the NFL is going to love Williams. The NFL is going to love Pierce. The NFL is going to love Carter. I think I have to draft it because that just leaves one more to make a wild card move. Like, and it's Scorton. Scorton's not even a wild card. He's a wild card to trend in the opposite direction. So I think I'm going to draft it actually.
But four or less, and you would draft it. Because you don't think more than 4 are going to go?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I do.
Really?
I do. And I do because it's the NFL, because pass rush is king, and because this draft class, I'm going to say it. I'm going to continue to say it. I don't mean don't pay attention to it. I don't mean that it doesn't matter. This is not a great class. And in a not great class, you're probably going to take some toolsy guys that you can find, like a Princely, like a Landon Jackson, and you're going to pray that they become something because you need them to, because you don't have anything else in this class. Like, would you rather take the 3rd or 4th running back off of the board or a toolsy edge rusher? Because your team probably needs an edge rusher more than it needs a first-round running back. And that's kind of how I look at this. It's less about the talent because I think there's way more talent at positions like linebacker, positions like running back, positions, even like tight end in this class than defensive end or outside linebacker. But I just think the NFL is going to draft. They're going to come out and they're going to draft a Princely, or they're going to draft a Landon Jackson, somebody like that in the first round. Even maybe somebody like JT because he's 270 pounds with good hands. But, we'll see. But I'm going to say it is Daft and that there will be 5 that go in the first round.
Okay. I can live with that. I was like scrolling through names and just trying to find like who could wild cards be. And it's hard to spot, but like A&M has a couple of those big body dudes, kind of like Scorton, like Shamar Turner and Shamar Stewart. Yeah. Those 2 boys, I mean, they've got 3 guys who are legit 6'5", 280, playing
Mhm.
along their defensive line, who can all play inside and out. So maybe one of those guys too could be thrown up there. But yeah, I think Landon Jackson or Princely Umealien, especially like Princely's going to test really well. Like, if you just watch him get off the ball, he's going to test really well.
Yeah, Princely's a tough one because he's just like he has never produced. And the other thing that
I know.
The other thing that I think that we have to bring up, and it's weird that he hasn't because I really like a lot of his pass rush repertoire. But I think another thing that we have to kind of point out when it comes to production at the college level is there's like a lot of tight. There's a lot of tight stuff. There's a lot of two gapping. There's not like unless it's like an obvious passing down. Sometimes you're not seeing these 240-pound edge rushers actually edge rush.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who was the Kansas guy who played 4-eye at like 245 pounds.
Austin Booker.
No, I don't think it was Booker.
Drafted by the Bears this past year?
No, I think it was the year before. I think it was no, it wasn't Kansas. It was Iowa State. It was Iowa State.
Will McDonald went the first round. Yeah.
Yes, Will McDonald went first round to the Jets, and he was like 245 pounds, and he was playing 4-eye for Iowa State for most of the year. And like when you saw him rush the passer, it was like, okay, like he can rush the passer, but he's playing as a 280-pound guy instead of the 240-pound guy he was. And that's a lot of pass rushers at the college level who they just don't get to pin their ears back like NFL guys do in over fronts or in 50 fronts. Like it's just not the way that it goes.
Shout out Will McDonald, who had 3 sacks against the Titans this Sunday as well. So.
Oh, the Titans still have a bad offensive line. Wild.
Wow. Yeah.
They also have a quarterback that is not playing very well.
No, and he's a bozo, and he's holding the ball forever. And, but yeah, on to the last Dafter draft then. And last week we did a broad overarching college football one, and we're going to stick on that theme this week. So right now, as it sits, there are 5 SEC teams in the top 7. So that's our Dafter draft this week. By the time the college football playoffs roll around, there will be 5 SEC teams in the top 12 seeds.
Draft.
Yeah.
I'm drafting it. And I don't want to draft it, but I don't see where else it's coming from. First of all, we have to acknowledge there's a Power 4 now and not a Power 5. So that is already taking an entire conference out of it. You've had so many teams move to the Big 10, the Big 12, and the SEC that you're already picking from less pool. And so you're looking at in the top 7 right now, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Missouri. You also have in the top 16, Oklahoma and LSU in the SEC.
Yeah.
So right there is 7 teams. I think 5 make it. I just do. I think 5 make it because when you look at the rest of the top 10 or even the top, 15 or 16 from Penn State.
Yeah.
How good are they? Ohio State. And I think that the SEC teams, because there is so much hype around that conference right now, because they're all ranked so highly, even when they beat up on each other, it's going to look better than when Penn State loses to a Michigan State or a team like that. You know what I mean? Because there's just less competition in the Big 10 than there is in the SEC overall still.
Right.
And then you have the Big 12 as well, which is going to cannibalize itself. The only real team that is like, okay, they're going to be in it no matter what is Miami. Unless they absolutely fall off. That's one ACC team that's in. And that's the other part of this. The ACC just kind of stinks.
Yeah.
So it might just be one ACC team. So it kind of has to be 5 SEC schools.
Yeah, I agree. I find this really funny. So again, there's one at-large bid, right? Every year. The at-large bid right now, this is unrelated to the SEC. The one at-large bid right now, according to the AP poll, would be Northern Illinois. According to the coaches poll, would be Memphis. So I think that's really funny. I do think it's probably going to end up being like Liberty or something like that. But I thought that was funny. But going back to what you're saying, yeah, I think what it comes down to for me is like, one, every conference is going to cannibalize itself. Like, but at the end of the day, are you going to put in a 2-loss Tennessee, a 2-loss Missouri, or a 2-loss USC or Penn State? Like, You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it's going to come down to. You look at the Big 12, like Kansas State, Utah, Oklahoma State are all sitting 12, 13, 14. Maybe 2 of them get in, but the Big 10, like, it's Ohio State and Oregon. I mean, USC might do some stuff, but like, I don't know if I trust Miller Moss's arm to really propel them that far. I don't know if their defense is that improved.
I saw a mock draft with Miller Moss going first overall.
Are you serious? That guy has he is Case Keenum. He is USC Case Keenum. He'll put up some numbers, but like he's got his arm is like the SpongeBob episode with the blow up arms. So that's fun. That's really fun. But Michigan, I mean, Notre Dame is probably sneaking in as long as they don't pull another stunt like they did this week. But like, is Notre Dame actually that good to fight through another season, like the whole season without losing another game? With Northern Illinois loss, like 2 losses might knock them out of the top 12. Yeah. 2 losses. So like, I think you have to have 7 or 5 SEC teams in there. Like, I think you have to, because LSU's sitting at 16.
Yeah.
Texas A&M's at 25. If Weigman comes back and he's healthy, that Notre Dame game was a dumpster fire. But I've heard he vomited on the field for one, but he had 100-degree fever. So like, if Weigman is who we think he is, like Texas A&M could run the table here down the stretch, or even if they don't, they lose one more game and just jump in that cannibalized 2-loss SEC pool. Like, I don't know. I don't know if a 2-loss Big 12 team's getting in here. Like, I think it's 1 of or 2 of Utah, Kansas State, or Oklahoma State. Oklahoma's in the SEC. They're sitting at 15. LSU 16. Yeah. So like, yeah, the ACC. I don't think Cade Klubnik is very good. In college football, is a lot less about quarterback play than the NFL is, and the NFL is actually coming that way. But so I mean, Clemson could do it, but like, I think Dabo's stubbornness has killed his own program. Like, he refuses to entertain the transfer portal. So like, I don't know if they have the talent. So like, I outside of Ohio State, Oregon, Miami.
Could Louisville get there?
I mean, ACC, they could. I think Jeff Brom is an incredible coach.
Yeah.
So like, I think they could. But Michigan's not. Michigan's going to lose 3 or 4 more games by the end of the season. Like, so just by a process of elimination, like, you have there's 5 SEC teams.
Yeah.
You might even see a 3-loss SEC team sneak in there.
Yep.
And that's not SEC bias. Like, Dalton's from Texas. I'm from Ohio. Neither of us are like, well, I guess Texas is now SEC territory, kind of, but not in our
it is now, but like,
or you're actually from Pennsylvania.
I'm actually originally from Pennsylvania. And all of my friends went to Penn State. So like, if I root for anybody in college football, it's loosely Penn State. But and I'm doing a podcast with an Ohio State guy. But and that's the thing. Like, we're talking about this from Big 10 country, from Big 12 country, and it's not SEC bias. It is what it is. Unfortunately, this is college football, and it's still run by the SEC at this moment.
Yep. So I'm drafting that as well. I mean, Nebraska is a team. Maybe Iowa State, Nebraska, Louisville, or the teams in the 20s that are kind of peeking in. Like, Illinois is not gonna sustain it, I don't think. But like, Raiola is pretty stinking good as a true freshman. So like, Nebraska could. We'll see what happens in Big 10 play. Iowa State, we'll see. Yeah, I don't see any way around it.
Yeah. Yep. Man, we need UNLV to be good. Like,
oh, that'd be so fun.
That'd be so much fun if Vegas gets a legitimately good college football team. And I wouldn't understand why, with NIL and kind of the history around that school and where it's at, there's got to be huge money opportunities there. So UNLV coming back and being big would be amazing.
Get added to the new Pac-12 and then end up like running it. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
They were awesome in college basketball back in the day. It was a ton of fun. I would love for them to be a powerhouse in college football. That would be a blast as well. Mostly because I would like to go to a game, because I haven't been to Las Vegas in way too long, and I love Vegas. But that's it. That's Daft or Draft. The episode is over. We are done. We have done all 3 topics. We had a blast doing this. We are going to continue this every single Wednesday. This will be the topic. We will have different topics every single time we come in here. Hot takes. We're going to answer them as honestly as we can, and just have a very fun episode doing a little bit of pundit stuff instead of evaluating what is going on with college football. We're going to be back tomorrow. We're building a prospect. We're building a Frankenstein running back. Make sure that you guys tune in for that. He's Cory. I'm Dalton. And this has been Daft on Draft.